Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to Terratech with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome to the first video after quite some time, where we're not going to be focusing at all on the sky base. Today, we're going to be going ahead and we are going to be building the first tank of the season, which is going to be a hybrid of Hawkeye and Better Future. Now, there's two reasons for this. First of all of the new blocks for Hawkeye look absolutely amazing. We have the new tracks, we have all the new armor stuff, so ultimately, that looks really, really good. But also, I keep on trying to use Better Future with the other corporations, and I think it's about time we start making some more hybrid techs, perhaps a Better Future Venture Flyer in the future, or something like that. But for now, I think these two will go really well, because straight away, they look really, really good together. But as you can see here by these lovely red blocks, the alternate paint scheme for Better Future is this, and it just fits really, really well with all of the Hawkeye stuff. We're going to make a very flashy looking tank, hopefully. Now, the main goal is to have a tank which can get over any terrain and is really, really defensive. So loads of armor, loads of battery power, good shield coverage, good repair bubble coverage. The weaponry will be kind of secondary for this. I just want something that can take a ridiculous amount of damage and just kind of carry on and ignore it. So, let's begin by just building a quick base section here and seeing just how big we want this tank to be. Here's a question. Does the medium track line up well with the large track? Let's put it down there. There we are. Kind of. Seems like the medium track is a little bit larger, but once we add the extra weight, that'll be forced down anyway. So the idea is, I want the medium tracks in the middle, then large tracks at the front and the back. That way it sort of looks a bit different when you look at it from the side, and it's not just the same thing over and over throughout the entire structure. The problem is, this is going to be quite big. But that would mean a lot of battery power, so much space to be built with. Sure, let's go with that and see how it works out. That's a little bit annoying. So the medium track really doesn't line up well at all with the big tracks. If we place it one higher, it simply doesn't touch the ground. If we place it here, it's sort of lifting the top track. Oh dear. And that's because it's not quite the same size as two blocks of this. That's really annoying. But hopefully, as we add more weight, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. In terms of controls, this thing is lovely, but it's a tank track, so that's kind of expected. The bouncing, on the other hand, less so. After messing around for a while, I can safely conclude I really, really don't like using the medium tracks and the large tracks together. They don't go as well together as you would originally think. Now, I think as I add more weight to the construct, it would cause the tracks to work together much better, but it was getting really annoying. I also don't quite know how I was going to build this thing. So for now, this is the sort of base we're going to go with, and I'm only going to have batteries in the very core of the construct rather than using the entire bottom section. Also, why am I calling them constructs now and not techs? Brain, where are you? Now, before we continue, I really need to decide on what weapons we're going to use, and because I do want to use this in the campaign, probably in a limited use sort of way, but I do want to use it and create it there, we can't use missiles. We also are going to avoid battleship cannons as much as we can, and that also goes for the regular cannon turret. Although they are absolutely amazing and really fit the theme of the tank, well, they're kind of overpowered. Well, they're completely overpowered. They kind of make everything else a little bit more boring. So we're going to focus more on smaller weapons, things like the autocannon, which is still a very powerful weapon, but definitely weaker than the explosive weaponry. Things like the mortar, because they're a bit more situational, not quite as instant win as some of the other weapons. And then lots of the smaller weapons from Better Future. What I'm thinking is, small weapons everywhere. So this thing is armed to the teeth, but not that much. It's definitely not focused on weaponry, but weaponry is everywhere, but in smaller amounts. If that makes any sense. Me no good at explaining things. So, this thing is going to be absolutely huge. I don't even know if it's going to be accurate to call it a tank in the end, but either way, it's going to be a bit of a behemoth. And I'm okay with that. We've mostly built small craft this campaign, so I think our first larger build, excluding the sky base itself, is warranted now. So we're going to have shotguns here, one more row of shotguns above it, including more of the Better Future shotguns, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I do want to make this as hybrid-y as possible. Then, as we go up here, we're going to have another row of weapons in this section and this section, which might actually go above these wrapped armor pieces. So I might need to change those. At the back, then I'm hoping we can have at least 3 of the Hawkeye autocannon, a weapon I don't use nearly enough, but absolutely love, so I'm hoping I'll use it a few times. After that, I'm not too sure. Just lots of small weapons, where I can, I'll try and put lasers, and hopefully this thing will be somewhat threatening. This is interesting. Did not expect that laser to be able to get through those weapons. Will it still work if I stack weapons above it, or is it more because of the better future shotguns? Either way, this would be really cool. If it works. I am surprised by this. Now, here's the thing. When the laser goes to aim at something, I imagine there's going to be problems. If there's not, then this is beautiful. Oh, there we go. Problems. Darn it. Yeah, it's trying to aim upwards right now, like where the shotguns are aiming, and it's just failing. Sometimes it fires. Now, of course, what we could do is something like this, but then it still won't be able to aim down. I would like lasers at the front, but for now, let's just stick with shotguns, because shotguns are fun. Made the front a little bit smaller, and I think this actually looks pretty nice. So in these two sections here, we'll go back, and then it will start to increase in size about here, once again leaving this space here open, which means we can add either one of the larger laser weapons or the autocannon straight away. Which would be nice, adding two right away. In fact, we could even add one here in the center at the front, so we have 3 autocannons up and running straight away. But then we're kind of not using enough better future. It doesn't need to be 50-50, but I would like to make sure it looks like it has better future within the tank. Right now, it's Hawkeye, and it's just Hawkeye. Now I really need to focus on better future. Couple of extra lasers on the side, couple of lasers facing forwards, so now we have a bit more firepower, and once again, it's all nice and varied and all over the vehicle. So what weapons do we want to add next? Honestly, I'm not too sure. Better Future only really has other lasers to offer, and that's going to get boring very quickly. Hawkeye, if we're avoiding the cannons, it's going to be mostly just basic shells. Though we could add mortars, like I mentioned earlier, so that could be a potential for our next set of weapons. In fact, we could add them all along here down the middle. Yeah, remember when I said this isn't focused on weapons? Suddenly it is. But still, lighter caliber weapons. We're still avoiding the big bad weapons, just adding lots of the simple ones. Okay, so I'm not happy with how this section here has turned out, so I'm going to change this. I'm also thinking about having the autocannons facing sideways, although this means they literally can't fire forwards anymore, since their turning arc was nerfed quite some time ago. I just think it looks better, plus that it's kind of like each side of the vehicle has its own weapons, and I kind of like that idea. This is one chunky craft. One day, I'll build something sleek and nice. Of course, this will cause the world to end, but I'll do it anyway. I love the idea of having the shotgun here, because it's so similar to the front, and then we can simply cover it up a little bit on the top, which I think will look really cool. Problem is, still a shotgun, and it won't be able to aim down very easily. This thing will never hit a target, and as much as I'm okay with adding stuff purely because I think it looks cool or it fits a theme, it needs to have at least some functionality, just the bare minimum. But I really like how it looks. Sad face. Okay, it's that time when I realise if I am going to spawn this into the campaign, I should be kinder to future Lathrix. We're going to add a load of the GSO batteries. They're not the best, they're certainly not the choice I would go for, but the thing is, I have like 60 or 70 of them currently just lying around, and everything else is really expensive. Let's be nice to our future selves for once. Maybe. I've had an idea for this section here, so rather than weapons or just filling this with batteries or something like that, what we could do is add a small charging section using the mobile furnace generators. Now, the rule in the campaign is we can't harvest resources to be used for crafting. That way, all of our crafting items will always come from enemies. But there's nothing in the rules to say we can't harvest resources to simply burn them for energy, since that doesn't really change the gameplay all that much. And honestly, the solar generators are easier anyway. 5 of the mobile furnaces and 1 of the mobile delivery cannons on each side. That way we can get loads of power very quickly, and if we manage to grab anything else which isn't any of the resources, we'll simply sell it. Now thankfully the rules are we can't buy anything with that money, not we can't sell anything, because if we can't buy anything there's no point of the money anyway. It's just an easier way to get rid of it rather than like a dropper or something. Okay, so now we just need to build around that. I don't know if I'm happy with how this looks at the moment. It is way bulkier than I even imagined, but this thing is going to be able to just go through a lot. Maybe other than missiles. But missiles are the bane of existence. And the most fun thing in the world. So we can definitely sell, even if this is blocked. It just looks awful, but it is still working as normal. The thing is, these lovely receivers have a very limited range, so I might need to put them further out or use different types of receivers. But they're so neatly tucked away, this is going to be so easy to hide. All we're going to see in the end is just this little bit here. Whoa, my frame rate just vanished. Just making sure it works even if all of this is blocked off. Of course, we will also be using a pacemaker later. Actually, will we? I don't think the furnace generators really benefit from that. We don't really care about selling. Nope, that works just fine. Good. Is this weapon here useful? No. Does it look cool? Yes. So, although this has a very, very limited range, so you have to be very specific to actually collect anything, it's really well hidden. So I think I'm going to stick with this, even though it's going to be more awkward to use. And soon I'm going to armor up this section as well, so we can't even see it from this side, just this little gap here. And I really, really like that. It does glitch out there, but don't worry, it doesn't actually affect anything. And again, you have to be looking right at it to even see that happening. I've tried it with multiple resources at once, no problems occur, so I think I will stick with that. I feel like the base of this is done now, but I don't know what to add to the top. Do I add a main section here, or do I just keep it kind of flat? It's definitely more of an armoured carrier, armoured truck at this point. So adding cannons really adds 2 problems to this craft. Firstly, they're just too strong. They are unbelievably powerful. And yes, I am aware that I'm currently building a craft which relies almost solely on battery spam, which is also very overpowered and a very easy way to get a strong craft. I understand that, and that's even more why I don't want to use cannons as well, because adding them both together, well, it's kinda horrendous. The second problem is that cannons, because they are explosive weapons, destroy most of the enemy, so very little of their corpse will be usable by us for future builds. So really, I don't think cannons are the way to go, even though it's so much easier to build with them. Yeah, they can break off parts of the cube before the shields are broken, for instance, and then against regular enemies, they just utterly obliterate it. Yep. I would love to use cannons, but no, we're going to be sticking with lower-end weapons. Though maybe what I could have done now I'm thinking about it is maybe add some cannons to the side or even the back. That way we can choose when to use them, so just position ourselves like this, and then fire. Whereas a normal fight, hopefully the front weapons will be used. More shotgun-esque. Okay, so firstly, in the background now, I have the aircon currently going, so I apologise if that's too loud, but I've had a couple of ideas. First of all, we now have the capability to charge ourselves using solar panels, and we can still, of course, harvest things and use the power there. But also, what I could do is leave this section on the top essentially flat, and in fact, flatten it even more, and use it as a sort of drone holder. We could use this to take our other drones with us, some of these smaller flying drones, and in fact, I want to make a really small flying drone really soon, like as small as I can possibly make it. So we could put it on top, and then use these items over here, things like the axles, to hold it in place. Well, more like the sockets either way. So we hold it in place there, then we can get on the drone, simply leave this structure here, and then go and scout out, and then come back. I think that would be really, really cool, and it would fit the current theme of the vehicle. The vehicle has changed so much since I originally started making it, but, you know, it's me, stuff like that tends to happen. But I think that is a really, really cool idea. Now, the only problem is this. Because these are still an experimental, we cannot craft these over in the campaign. It's the reason why I haven't used these for the turrets and all sorts of other stuff. It's very difficult to farm these specifically. You can simply get them as random drops from crates, and you can buy them from the trade stations once you've unlocked at least one of them. Then they'll appear occasionally. So we need to use this in a very minimalistic sort of way. So what I'm thinking is just one of the sockets, and then one of the other parts, and that should be it. Nothing else. And in fact, I won't even add it just yet until I've spawned this into the campaign, then we can go and farm them. So all I need to do now is flatten off the top, then next episode we'll either make this in the campaign, or we'll spend the time making the drone. I think that's a really cool idea. And we can even use this to transfer energy to the drone itself. Although it's not particularly good at gaining power, we can now simply turn off the shield, so it will be able to do that, and then this can feed the drone it's holding. Yeah, I really like this idea. How about you? Tell me in the comments, is this a good idea, or should I still make this more single? Should I still make it a more combat-orientated, travelling-orientated vehicle, or should I make it a drone holder? Okay, because I'm so not sure how I want to finish this, I am going to be calling the episode here. The next episode will be much sooner than the gap between the last one and this one. Overall, I actually really like how this craft has turned out. It's not all that great with firepower. I thought I was going a bit too far, but actually, it can't really aim many of its weapons at one target in one specific location, which is great, because I don't want it to be just this firepower-heavy craft. Instead, it has over 60 Hawkeye batteries for a start, and then lots of the GSO ones. It can take an absolute beating, and most of the functional components, the expensive stuff, is somewhat protected by armor and at least more of the regular blocks. I'm really happy with it. I think it's a great carrier, or it could just be a great transport vehicle. So tell me what you think I should call it, and how it should be finished in the comments below. And with that, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed today's video, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that Terratech is a series you wish to see continued in the future. In the next episode, either a drone, going back to campaign, or both. Thank you, and goodbye. Unless I just turn this into a tank in the end. Who knows? It's me.